Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our 294th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is like a Reddit AMA, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, personal growth questions, any questions you want to. And my humble goal is to help you take your personal portfolio or your company or your career or your happiness even to the next level. So without further ado, let's begin and thank you. First question is from Peter, who wrote, if the new government, meaning Trump, follows through and deports millions of low-cost laborers, leading to crops not being harvested, would it make sense to invest in U.S. agriculture futures to lock prices in? Yeah, so Trump has implied and flat out said that he's going to deport maybe up to 11 million people. Before I answer this question, let me just say a quick thing about Trump. So Trump has gotten deals done in his career by kind of saying things that are a little bit extreme, okay? And usually when people negotiate, one party is here, one party is here, and they meet here. But with Trump, per the art of the deal and books he's written, et cetera, and his business practices, he tends to lean a little bit more this way, a little bit more exaggerated. So that instead of meeting in the middle, they meet right here. So I don't think things are going to be as dire as predicted when it comes to deportations, when it comes to tariffs, et cetera. But to answer your question about agriculture prices, I think they will go up. I think we are going to be seeing inflation tick up next year. I think the Federal Reserve will cut rates later today by 25 basis points. But I think they'll start to raise rates next year. And the reason I say that is because Trump is more of a protectionist. He's talked about increasing tariffs on the country materially. I don't think he's going to increase them as much as we expect, and I'll tell you why in a second. But when he increases tariffs, what's going to happen is it's going to make all imports and exports more expensive, which drives up prices. If prices go up, that causes inflation. The only way to stop inflation is to raise rates, which I think the Federal Reserve will do next year. Now, the reason why I say he's not going to be as extreme as a lot of people expect is because the markets will keep him in check. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? Well, if he does anything too extreme that is going to materially negatively impact economic growth, the bond markets and the stock markets globally will go down or get impacted a lot. Markets will crash. And that will immediately get him to go back on the right path. I don't think he would do that. Yeah. He cares too much about the net worth of portfolios for a lot of Americans, et cetera. Yeah. Typically, whenever I invest, a really smart hedge fund manager I worked for years ago told me, Chris, things are never as bad as they seem, and things are never as good as they seem either. So we just have to stay unemotional as well. Now, when it comes to investing in agriculture futures, let me talk about that a little bit. So a lot of companies, what they'll do is they'll use the futures market, which is a derivatives market, to lock in prices of certain goods or commodities longer term in case prices go up. And a classic example of this was back in 2003 when American airline company Southwest, ticker LUV, in 2003, what they did was they bought the future price of oil for many, many years at a price of $30. And the reason they did it at that time was because the biggest input cost, of course, for airlines is fuel. And because they knew then that China was going to grow very, very quickly leading up to the 2008 Olympics. And so what happened was we had an economic super cycle with oil, and the price of oil went up to $150 per barrel by the summer of 2008. Now, because Southwest had locked in the futures price of oil at $30, they were still very profitable. In fact, they cut prices in 2008, which was predatory and forced the major U.S. airlines into bankruptcy. Yeah. So anyway, we live in interesting times, that's for sure. Okay. Next up, Peter wrote, I've been looking at an executive certificate course in business strategy that focuses on Sun Tzu's Art of War. Is business strategy from Asia respected or considered much in the U.S.? Yeah, we do live in interesting times for sure. So for those of you not familiar with Sun Tzu and the Art of War, I do quote the book quite often. It's a great book. Probably the best quote is, every battle is won before it's been fought. And that just means to be preemptive. Think ahead. Think a couple chess moves ahead from a game theory perspective than your competition does. Now, in terms of Asian business practices in general, yeah, a lot of them are used in the U.S. For example, there's one called Kaizen, which means continuous improvement. There's also lean manufacturing, and then there's just-in-time manufacturing, which was pioneered by the Japanese, and also Edward Deming, who's an economist, God bless me, passed away from the United States. And what that means, just-in-time manufacturing, is very smart. It means don't produce your product until the last second. So you don't have to deal with inventory, because inventory can destroy a company. And don't ever start a company where you make a product unless you sell it first. And this was pioneered by Michael Dell in his dorm room in Texas in the 1980s when he started Dell Computer, which has been renamed Dell Incorporated. What he would do, which is smart from a cash flow perspective, is he would take orders for computers that would be custom built, as we all know. And then what he would do is he collect the cash, then build it, and then send it out. Yeah, so be very careful starting a company where you have to make a physical product, because it can bankrupt you, which is what happened to the entire video game market back in the 1980s. What happened was Atari made this video game called E.T. It was so bad, man. I remember my dad bought it for me for Christmas. I was really excited when I was a little kid. And basically it was this E.T. guy who couldn't walk forwards or backwards, chasing around this M&M. And what happened was the Atari Corporation made hundreds of thousands of these cartridges. And nobody bought them because the game was awful. And so they had to bury all of them in the middle of the desert. I think it was in Arizona or New Mexico. And as a result, that forced Atari into bankruptcy, too much inventory. And it also forced pretty much the entire American video game business into bankruptcy until Nintendo came around 1983 with the first NES. Okay. All right. All right, next up, Lay wrote, good morning. Thank you for the icon. And you wrote, greetings from UWS Morningside, New York City. Awesome. I used to walk through Morningside Park when I went to Columbia. I lived in the Upper East Side for a couple of years, and Upper West Side when I went to Columbia. You wrote, do you play a musical instrument? I do. I play piano. Not that much. When I was a little kid, my parents forced me to play piano and violin, the Suzuki methodology. And then when I was like 12, they said, okay, now it's up to you if you want to continue. We encourage you to continue. And I said, no. But I do play a little bit of Chopin, Bach, and Beethoven and stuff just to calm myself down sometimes. I love the nocturnes as well. What I used to do when I was a kid, quick story, is I recorded myself in the basement of my house in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I recorded myself practicing piano one day. And then what I did was I clicked play on an old tape deck. So my parents thought that I was practicing, and I was playing my Apple IIe video games in the basement. Holy, that was a long story. Let me get to your next question. All right. Good morning, Kevin from Lakeland, Florida. Raphael, good to see you. You wrote, how are you? I'm always great, thanks. Rivian will report earnings after the market closes. When will the real estate course come out? I'm so excited to learn about it. Dogecoin to the moon. Yeah. One thing I want to say also about a Trump presidency is alternative energy stocks might not do as well as you expect, because he has said drill, baby, drill. And what Elon Musk did was brilliant in hindsight. I'm not going to get political here. But I think if he didn't really support Trump, it would hurt some of his businesses. If a Democrat won, it would help them from a clean tech perspective. But now he's going to be part of Trump's cabinet to cut expenses with government. Yeah. Now, in terms of my real estate course being released, it's coming out next week, exclusive for my MBA degree students. And you'll be able to download it in the last lecture of your MBA degree program. I'll give you just a very quick overview of it. It'll be sold separately as well. So there's 4 tracks: the primary residence track, residential investment rental track, a commercial track, and then an all track. Okay. And I ask you tons of questions. Okay. I explain everything to real estate to you from scratch in this comprehensive course, what makes a great real estate investment. It's the best course I've ever humbly made. And then what comes out of this is your income statement, okay, your balance sheet, a ton of formulas to assess your financial health to see if you can buy that property or not, as well as other topics like REITs, etc. And all this stuff feeds into a 1-page executive summary that you can print out based on the questions I ask you in the course, and also a massive business plan as well. Yeah. So I poured my heart into this. Again, it's coming out next week. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. And I think that real estate for everybody on the call here is a much better investment than stocks longer term. And the reason I say that is with real estate, if you set up a real estate company, which everybody should, with real estate, you can write off the interest on your debt. What you can also do is write off the depreciation, so you pay less in taxes, and you get the appreciation from the real estate holding you own, and you get side hustle income from the rental units. Yeah, and you can't depreciate stocks, and you can't write off as much interest with stocks. So again, real estate is the best investment you'll ever make. My grandfather, God bless him, he's up there with Katie, my sister, hanging out. Miss you guys. He used to say, Chrissy, buy land. They're not making it anymore. Yeah. So if you want me to, I can talk a lot more about real estate now, but you're all the customer. The students, you can ask me whatever questions you want to, and we'll go in that direction. Okay. All right, next question is from BP, which is, which degrees are the best to get in to hedge funds? A Master of Science or a Master of Science in Math or a Master of Science in Business and Economics? I'd probably... It's hard. It depends what kind of hedge fund you want to get into. If you want to work at Renaissance Technologies, which is an AI-based hedge fund founded by Jim Simmons, who worked at the NSA in the 80s, and their average return has been over 60% since the 80s. If you want to work at Renaissance and do quant-based analysis and AI investing, then I would say studying mathematics makes sense. In fact, Renaissance, you can go to their website to check this out, but Renaissance Tech, what they do is they only hire mathematicians. If you want to work for other traditional hedge funds, probably the other path makes the most sense. But the issue is with hedge funds, they don't really advertise for jobs much. And if you want to get a job at a hedge fund or any company for that matter, you have to network aggressively. And I've said this many times before, but every time you see a job opening online, if one is posted, you literally have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. And so the person that gets that job knows somebody at the company. So how do you get to know somebody at the company? Well, you network aggressively. And in my MBA degree program, I teach you how to network on steroids. Now, if you don't want to purchase my MBA degree program, you want to learn how to network, I have a free book for you. So all you have to do is go to my website, which is harounmba.com, scroll to the bottom, okay? And then you'll see here a networking book you can download for free. It's called Networking Get Customers, a Job, or Anything You Want. Quick side notes. I will be releasing, people will be able to start signing up for my next Gold and Platinum MBA degree program, probably at the end of next week. There's going to be limited spots. It's going to be a small class. First come, first serve. Okay, let me get to your next question. All right, I feel great, man. I've worked out with weights 13 days in a row now. I feel amazing. Yeah. Everybody, please work out. All right, and I use an Oura ring to let me know if I'm getting sick or not, right? And so the Oura ring, O-U-R-A, it'll check my vitals overnight, my deep sleep, my heart rate, etc. It'll give me a score out of 100 on my readiness. So my readiness has to be 70 or more in order for me to work out. If my readiness is below that, then it means I might be getting sick. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Skin Belt. How are you? Great to see you. It's Marin Koros. Marin is one of my amazing platinum students. And I visited Marin and her family actually in Kenya a couple of weeks ago. And we're building a school in Kenya in honor of her mother. The profits from what I do go towards building schools. We took the first dig here. As you can see, it's close to a water source. Here's our board as well, and more details here. And here's Marin and her wonderful family, who I miss very much. Great to see you, Marin. Next up, Yiping. Hey, Yiping, how are you? Wrote, hey, Chris, why do the gurus / pundits and strategists and even Nobel laureates, are they dead wrong about forecasting the U.S. election? Yeah. So what we witnessed a couple nights ago during the election is the death of traditional media. Traditional media does not represent the opinions of the American population. A lot of people get their news and their insights from, YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. Another thing I have to say is that Trump he will win the popular vote. He won the Senate. Looks like he'll win the House as well. And in terms of the number of delegates that voted for him, or I guess the sectors of the country, he won by about 30%. big landslide victory. In fact, in all the swing states, he won every one, I think, except for one. And one of the reasons is because a lot of people get their insights on politics, business, etc., from social media and not from television. Also, some people don't want to admit who they're voting for in a poll because it might be taken the wrong way. So there's a lot of silent voters that vote one way versus the other. I'll let you read between the lines there. Yeah. Another thing I'll say about Kamala, she's charismatic, but I think one of the issues that a lot of people are talking about is that she didn't really talk about what her policies are going to be. And she was on The View, which is a television show, earlier this week. And she was asked about, what do you disagree with about what Biden did during his presidency? And she didn't really answer the question properly. But she also didn't express her economic plan, et cetera, articulately enough, according to people familiar with the matter, meaning according to people on the news. Yeah. All right. But I do not let anybody know my political preference. But if I lived in Canada, where I'm proudly from, I would wear a red hat that would say, "Make Trudeau a drama teacher again." Any Canadians out there? Do you get that? Sorry. That was bad dad humor. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Tiz Louise wrote, "Hey, Chris, hope you're doing great. Likewise. What do you think about the issues with SMCI? Is this just a temporary event? And will the fundamentals improve? Could it be a long-term buy?" Yeah. The problem with that company, which is a server-based company, they make computer servers, and they kind of have an AI spin to it as well, is that their auditor resigned, Ernst & Young. And whenever an auditor resigns, you run for the hills, because the auditor is basically saying, we don't trust what the company is reporting. Garbage in, garbage out. And never invest in a company if you don't recognize the auditor. Sam Bankman-Friedman, too, also his company, his crypto company, had a no-name auditor. And later this year in December, I'm working very hard with one of my amazing Platinum MBA students, Gary, on releasing a forensic accounting course. And this will help you all understand not just how to read financial statements, but more importantly, how to read the footnotes. There's 14 categories of footnotes in annual reports, and they can really help you understand if a company is in trouble or not. Thanks for the question. All right. Next up, Ro wrote, "Hey, Chris, as a former hedge fund portfolio manager, what were your Sharpe, Sortino, Calmar ratios?" I don't even know what Sortino and Calmar means, but I had a decent Sharpe ratio. Yeah. All right. Joshua wrote, "When your real estate court launches, which board members would you recruit to follow your strategies and help raise OPM? OPM meaning other people's money." Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to launch a real estate fund or any fund in general, obviously get a lawyer involved first, register the company so that you're protected and your investors are as well. In terms of your board members or board advisors, I would get board advisors only, because if you get board members, you have to provide them with director and officer, meaning D&O insurance, which costs a lot of money. In terms of which board advisors to get for your business plan, I would probably get people that work for very large real estate companies like CBRE, for example. And that will assuage any investor concerns that you may or may not have enough experience in managing real estate. If you have follow-ups, please let me know. All right, next up, Jack wrote, "Hey, Chris, do I get assigned when the contract I write or sell is in the money, or can I still get assigned even my contract is not in the money? I'm asking so I understand fully my risk." Yeah, absolutely. So what Jack is asking about is options. So in options, what you do is you can buy a call option or a put option. So let's say you think Coca-Cola is going to go up a lot. You can buy a call option. If Coke goes up, this goes up big time. It might double or triple even. Coke goes down, all you lose is this. Vice versa, from a hedging perspective, this is smart to do. If you own a lot of a stock and you're worried it's going to go down, but you don't want to sell it because you don't want to pay taxes, you can buy what's called a put. So what happens is if Coke goes down, this goes up a lot. If Coke goes up, you're happy, you're making money there, and this just goes to zero. Now, what Jack is referring to is instead of buying calls or buying puts, being a market maker, meaning underwriting them and selling them. And I want my students to be very careful with this. And one of the reasons is because of what's called random assignment. And that's Jack's question. And what random assignment is, when you sell or underwrite or short options, all the same thing. What random assignment means is if you sold an option and somebody else bought a similar option from another market maker, then the CBOE, the exchange, can randomly assign you to have to pay for their option if they close it out. So you could lose way more money than what you invested in. Yeah. And this could be worse with in the money, I think. Yeah. But what you want to do is you want to call your broker, and every call, and this goes for every financial services product anybody on this call ever invested. There's a lot of hidden fees. And I always want you to call up the company where you bought the insurance product from, or option, or whatever it is, or mortgage, and say, explain the fees to me. And after they do so, you say this, because every call is recorded for quality assurance. They didn't hear that. Then you say this. You say, okay, I'm going to explain it back to you with a simple example. If I'm wrong, tell me. If I'm right, tell me. If you're wrong, do it over and over again, rinse, lather, repeat, so you can find out if you're not getting screwed on fees, which many of us are. Quick side note, don't ever buy mutual funds. They're a scam because you're paying so many hidden fees, 300 to 500 basis points of fees. Buy ETFs instead. And I can go into a lot more detail on that if you want me to. And if you want to look at a screen for ETFs, you can always go to SeekingAlpha and then go to top ETFs and ETF screener here. Quick caveat, I am sponsored by SeekingAlpha because I believe in the product. It's the only sponsorship I've ever taken. If you want to get a discount, and I will get compensated in this, you don't have to do this. If you want to get a discount, go to the description of this video for more details on how to get that discount. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Famukafi wrote, hey, Chris, are you going to make another crypto course? It is one of the best on Udemy. Thank you. No, I'm not. No. So what I tend to do is I make one course and I move on to another one. So right now, real estate, which is pretty much done. I'm going to publish it next week, including a massive business plan that you can export with it. And then next is a forensic accounting course, which comes out this December. And the MBA, or pardon me, the real estate course is only going to be available on my website. But I'm making also next year a marketing course and a personal growth course as well with my little sister. It's about rehab and stuff, and she inspires me so much. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, Danny Drives wrote, your Billions content on YouTube is pretty amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And actually, the co-writer of Billions reached out to me and had nice things to say. And a lot of people actually that worked on the show have reached out to me as well. I'm having so much fun with this. You wrote, I know you're going through one episode at a time. I assume you've watched every episode already. What is your favorite moment? Yeah. Probably the yelling match between Dollar Bill and Axe in his office. Yeah, I love that part. I found that when Mike Prince got involved, the show was still good, but I liked it more when Bobby was involved. And I heard, and this is just a rumor, please don't hold me to it, but I heard that they're making spin-off shows for Billions. One might be called Trillions, based in Miami. Another one might be called Millions, based in London, which would be great. Yeah. And of course, I'll do an overview of every single episode if they do that. Yeah. All right. Next up, Frank wrote, hey, Chris, does it make sense to invest in unlisted companies as practiced by private equity funds? I would say no. The only reason is because illiquid stocks or illiquid investments own you in a down market and you can't sell them. So when it comes to investing in any financial instrument, when I look to invest in a stock, I always look at the volume and the average daily volume. And if the position size I want to buy is more than 10% of the average daily volume, I don't do it. Remember, illiquid stocks own you in a down market. Plus, if you invest in private companies, through private equity or through venture capital, it takes a gazillion years to get your money back. A lot of people think that people that work in VC make a lot of money. No, only about 10 of those firms make a lot of money. The others don't really make any money. And I have good friends that are very senior at those 10 firms. And it takes them at least a decade to get paid out. It takes forever. Yeah. You're a stockholder once you invest in a private company. And another quick side note, if a friend or family member ever asks you to invest in their company, I want you to tell yourself this, just in your mind. Why am I so lucky to be given this opportunity? The reason is probably because nobody else will invest. Plus, if you invest in their company or try to raise money from friends and family, I promise you, You will not be talking to some of them longer term if you lose the money. Yeah, just keep it separate always. All right, next up, Joshua wrote, what types of real estate markets would you choose for ground up development and multifamily projects? Yeah, I'd look at low income. I think they're called Section 8 because there's a lot of government subsidies and there's a massive housing glut right now in the United States. What I would not look at is buying real estate in big cities. I think cities are in secular decline. The pandemic has taught us all that we can work and do more from home instead of driving into a city and polluting the environment, destroying our health while we're driving there, etc. I'd also look at, you got to think of high-level trends too. So in the United States, this is fascinating. In the United States, every single year, 100,000 baby boomers retire. That's a lot. And that obfuscates the unemployment numbers as well. So what do these baby boomers do? Well, quite often they leave their house. That's how we say it in Canada, house. And then they buy an apartment. So maybe apartment complexes in warmer climates are better long-term investments. Yeah. And timing the real estate cycle is tough. You can't do it. It's too hard to do. But if you had bought real estate at the peak of the 07 market, you'd still be up a lot. If you had bought stocks at the peak of the 08 or at the peak of the 07 market, you'd be up a lot. So always think long term. Yeah. And don't do day trading, please. Yeah. All right. And then Kip wrote, with respect to the death of media, are we seeing the death of celebrity influence? It all depends. Like people like Mr. Beast, there's a lot of online celebrities, like Gary Vaynerchuk. I think you're seeing them ascend. But I think that traditional celebrities in decline. Yeah. And a lot of celebrities, their opinions on who to vote for hasn't really moved the needle very much. Now, when it comes to online media and podcasting, etc., Joe Rogan did move the needle. As many of you saw, I think it was on Monday, he threw his support behind Donald Trump. Yeah. And what was fascinating is that Dana White, who started the UFC, when he was when Trump gave his speech, his victory speech, Dana White got up there and thanked the Nelk brothers. And that was shocking to me. So the Nelk brothers, it's this dude from Canada who makes these funny videos, just pranks. And he interviewed Trump as well. So it's fascinating showing you that the Nelk brothers and, Joe Rogan and others have more influence on votes than the major networks do. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And Ram, I see what you're saying about Trudeau with India. Yeah. All right, moving on to Albert. Albert, first time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again. Albert wrote, hello, Chris. I love your content. Thank you. I applied to Jane Street and I got rejected immediately, not even considered. I really want to get my internship there. Anything I can do. Yeah. So what you have to do, and you can join my MBA program, just go to harounmba.com. But what I recommend you do is network using a LinkedIn to meet with people that you have something in common with that work there. Set up 20 or 30 informational interviews with them. It's easy to do, and people will say yes if you use my methodology. Get to know them a bit, and then don't forget at the end of that interview to ask if they're hiring, because closed mouths don't get fed. Relationships are more important than product knowledge. Your network is your net worth. This stuff works, I promise you. But it's like dating. If you quit after asking one person out, you're never going to get a date. You only have to be right in business one time, so keep asking. All right. Next question is from Yaman, which is, can a CPA get a job in a hedge fund? Absolutely. But it comes down to networking. Yeah. And a lot of people have problems with accounting and finance. And the way I teach it and the way everybody should learn it is you shouldn't memorize it. You should try to understand it. And when I went to McGill University 8 million years ago, I remember I got a D in accounting. So why the hell am I teaching it? Well, I took it again. I got a little bit better. But I got a D because I was memorizing stuff, not understanding it. You have to memorize the stuff, rearrange the equations yourself as well, and really learn to read financial statements like a good book. And that's something I teach you. And I even teach it to my students with a lot of props as well. This is a balance sheet, of course. Yeah. All right, moving on to the next question. Ryan wrote, hey, Chris, what's the best way to find a capital raiser that we pay a success fee without having to pay upfront fees. Yeah, cap intro doesn't work. Even for large hedge funds that have prime brokerage firms, meaning they trade their stocks through like a Goldman, these big firms like Goldman have cap intro as well. It doesn't really work. Okay, you got to pound the pavement and get it yourself. And you can go to my website and download that networking book to teach you how. I've raised and managed over $1 billion in my career, humbly. I've made every mistake there is to make. But the best way to raise money is to network and meet with high net worth investors. The reason I say high net worth investors is because the sales cycle is quite short. They are the decision maker. Don't waste your time ever, if you're all starting companies, talking to VC firms initially, or talking to endowments or pension funds. Because what will happen is this. A lot of people that work at these big asset allocators that will give you money, a lot of these people that work there are junior analysts. And their job is to work 250 days a year and take 3 meetings a day. So you're 1 out of 750 on a checkbox for them. Yeah, always talk to the decision maker. Okay. All right. And then Ram wrote, why doesn't India have any large hedge funds? There may be reasons, ... No, they do. They do. In fact, the derivatives market in India is much bigger than the United States. Yeah. And then please keep typing your questions, everybody. Thanks. Moving on to Emporium, a podcast. By the way, love your content and your educational videos. Thank you. And then you wrote, thank you for your contribution to the finance education. God bless you, and thank you for that. Appreciate it. Moving on to Esther, who wrote, hey, Chris, have you viewed any episodes of Industry? If so, what do you think about the show? Yeah, it's about an investment bank in England. A lot of my students, my YouTube followers, have asked me to do a review on that. I will be doing it soon. Yeah, it's a little bit far-fetched in terms of internal relationships. That doesn't happen as much as you think, etc. But I will do a full review on that, as well as Succession, The Big Short, and a lot more stuff. I'm going to be really taking my YouTube game to the next level next year. I think we're on pace to reach 100,000 subs this December. So thank you all for your support. Click like and subscribe. Yeah. All right. And then Ram wrote, thanks for the Udemy option derivatives course. That is the best. You're the best mentor ever when it comes to finance. Thank you. I appreciate that. I humbly got the top grade in my options class at Columbia 8 million years ago. And I think what you're referring to is the options dashboard that came with that course. This bad boy here. Yeah. I had so much fun making it. Yeah. And I love to create dashboards when I teach. And I love to create, and this here is in my MBA program for the Venture Capital Bootcamp to make your business plan automatically. All right, let me get back on track here. All right. All right, next up, Emporium wrote, tips and tricks to enter the asset management / wealth management realm with an engineering background. Yeah, so in finance and here in venture capital industry here on the left coast, the West Coast, there's a saying that it's easier for an engineer to get into finance than a finance person to get into engineering. Yeah. Now for you, what I would do is just network aggressively, as I mentioned before. And if you want, you can set up a call with me to see if my coaching services would make sense to you or not. I'll do this really quick. Whenever I do this, people drop off the call, which I understand. So just go to harounmba.com. You can go to MBA FAQs to learn about the MBA products, or you can click this blue button that part of me is covering up to schedule a Zoom call with me. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay, Robert wrote, with promised tariffs and the U.S. ballooning deficit, do you see the crypto or gold as better inflation hedges or the S&P, etc.? Since the big players have pricing powers, are they inflation immune? Well, the marketplace certainly likes, from a crypto perspective, the Trump presidency. He's more positive when it comes to cryptos. As you know, Bitcoin is at an all-time high. I've owned it for years. I've publicly disclosed the 4 cryptos I own. Always do your own research. Those cryptos are as follows: Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ripple. In terms of gold, I think gold is a wonderful long-term investment as well. So gold tends to go up when the economy pulls back materially. But I think it's a great inflation hedge longer term. And you always want to invest when it comes to commodities and other products. You want to invest in stuff that has a dearth of supply, a limit of supply. Okay, in terms of the S&P 500, I'm pretty bullish in the S&P 500. Goldman Sachs, where I used to work, recently said they expect the S&P to only be up a couple percent in the next couple of years. My thought prospect on this is that I think the S&P will be up between 15 and 20% on average for the next 20 years. Yes, there will be down years. The reason I say it is because AI. I think a lot of companies are leveraging AI to cut expenses materially, which goes right to the bottom line, which is great for S&P 500 companies. And I think what's going to happen also within a year or two is a lot of companies are going to be using AI to grow their top line, meaning revenue as well. I certainly use it a lot in my business. It's helped me a lot. Yeah. And a Trump presidency means lower corporate taxes as well, which could be good for stocks a longer term. All right. Yeah, but nobody is inflation immune. And if you run a company and you're worried about inflation, you can always lock in prices using futures markets, as I mentioned with the price of oil and the Southwest example earlier on this call. Yeah. All right. And then Eddie wrote, "Are you hiring?" I'm not. I run an S corporation, which means I'm the only employee. I don't have employees. I never want them. I love people, though. And the reason why I don't hire employees is it's more tax effective just to run my own company. And I hire contractors all over the world. Yeah. And if you guys want to hire people to help you with your business, I'm going to show you just a gold mine right here. Okay. So this here is called onlinejobs.ph. And it's a company based in the Philippines. So let's say you wanted to, hire a marketing specialist or an Amazon expert. I'll choose Amazon expert. Scroll down here. You can hire people for $5 an hour, $2 an hour. They all have university degrees. It's unbelievable. And what some people do, not me, but what some people do is they hire 3 people to do the same job. And they tell them all, I'm just going to keep one. You're all on a trial basis. Yeah. But I do worry about the Philippines longer term because of AI. I think when it comes to chatbots, etc., AI is going to take a lot of share away. So, like what I do, I'll show you when it comes to AI with my website. Let me just go to my courses. In the bottom left-hand corner here, this here is I pay $20 a month for customer support. It's an AI product, runs on ChatGPT called chatbase.co, and all it is all of my closed captions. So you can ask any question there and it'll answer like it sounds like me. I've also been beta testing with a large tech company here in the Bay Area. I signed an NDA I can't disclose yet on using AI for me to teach courses in different languages. And you wouldn't know the difference. It's scary how good it is. Yeah. And for everybody out there that's thinking about starting a YouTube channel or doing social media, please start now. Because I think you have a 5-year window of opportunity before you can't really scale. And I'll explain why. I think within 5 years, when AGI, meaning artificial general intelligence, becomes a reality, what's going to happen is we're all going to be learning from online teachers that don't exist, right? It's just going to be these perfect avatars. The same thing with movies. A lot of movies we see will have actors that are AI based. So that means that you have 5 years to establish the brand of you through social media. Start creating YouTube videos. Start creating TikToks. Don't strive for perfection or you'll never reach it, according to Salvador Dali. Put your content out there and don't worry if people judge you. And whenever you see mean comments, which happens to me, you're Teflon. And just like anything in life, whenever you're criticized, you got to tell yourself this. Unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. Let me say that again. So powerful. Unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. Okay. Don't be perfect. And as Reid Hoffman, the brilliant co-founder of LinkedIn, who's a partner now in a venture capital firm called Greylock, said, if you release your product when it's ready, you've missed the market. Okay. But in terms of hiring, I am, I guess, indirectly hiring. I have an affiliate program If you want to learn more, just email support@harounventures.com so you can get paid 30% on every one of my products you sell. And I have students that have made thousands of dollars per year doing that. Next up, we have Carolyn, who's one of my amazing silver MBA students. She's from France but lives in Canada. And at the end of this weekly call, I do a 1-hour call with my silver MBA students. It's a Zoom call. Carolyn wrote, "Good morning, Chris. Do you have any plans to move back to Canada?" Not at this point. Not at this point. But I do miss Canada, and I visit my family during the summers there. Yeah, I used to go back for Christmas, but it was just too cold. Yeah, but I love Canada. All right, Manas, who's also in my silver MBA program. Manas, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you over Zoom last week for the first time. I know you've been on hundreds of, I think about 200 of these weekly calls with me. So Manas wrote, "Good morning, my dear mentor, Chris, please. And a great morning in world markets. I jumped to ATH. Something happened, last night." Yeah. Last night. Yeah. Let me know what you're referring to. Yeah. Okay. And then Corey Lannis wrote, "Hi, Chris. I followed your recommendation and watched other people's money and thoroughly enjoyed it." Yeah. And so anybody that's curious about what is private equity, what does it mean? And you can watch a movie called Other People's Money, which is an oldie but a goodie, with Danny DeVito from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, the swing state, Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's how you can learn about private equity. You wrote here, "Other than Billions, do you have any other great movies or TV picks?" Yeah. The best way to learn about finance, or at least the way I enjoy doing so, is by watching finance movies and finance TV shows. Let me show you here. So if you go to my YouTube channel, right here, it's Wall Street Pro Series. If you click here and watch these videos, you'll see on this playlist here, I teach you a lot about business and finance by doing a critique of the movie Wall Street, as well as The Wolf of Wall Street, and 30 other ones here as well. You can check it out on my website. Yeah. All right. And then you wrote here, "Growing up, parents made me terrified of debt. Does your course talk about how to leverage debt to your advantage?" Absolutely. Please don't fear debt when it comes to real estate. Don't use debt anywhere else, but with real estate, it's okay because you get a tax break. So let me give you an example of what this means. Let's say you buy a house for 100 grand, okay? And you put down 20 grand for your down payment. So you've got a mortgage, right, which is 5x your down payment. Don't worry, as long as you can afford the payments. Because in a couple of years, if you bought in the right location, hypothetically speaking, let's say the price of that house goes up to 150 grand. You just made 50 grand on your $20,000 investment, and you get tax write-offs as well. Now, when it comes to investing in real estate, there's 5 components that makes a great real estate investment. It's called IDEAL, and this is from my real estate course coming out next week. I for income, D for depreciation, where you pay less in taxes. Okay, and Donald Trump, by the way, in the first televised debate against Hillary Clinton back in 2016, Hillary criticized him for not paying much in taxes, and he admitted, "Yes, I take advantage of the system because it exists." And the way that Donald Trump and very wealthy people don't pay taxes or much in taxes through real estate is through depreciation, where you can depreciate the properties, you pay less in taxes. What you can also do is you can write off the interest as well, right? And I explain this in a lot more detail based on whatever your economic situation is in this massive course of mine. This is the complete real estate course that comes out next week. Let me get back on track to your questions. Thanks. Do not fear debt when it comes to real estate, but always put 20% down, please. All right. All right. Next up, Ryan said, "You said in your class that it doesn't matter the horse, the jockey is what's most important." Yes. The management of the company is more important than the company itself, because you're investing in people whenever you invest in a company. And I never invest in a company where the founder is no longer there. And the reason I say that, and that's controversial, is because if a founder leaves a company, then everybody climbing the corporate ladder, they just want to get to the next level. And if they take a risk while they're climbing the ladder, and they try to innovate with a new product and they fail. They're done. They're not climbing the ladder anymore. So only invest in companies where the founder is running the company or the founder is somewhat involved. And yes, there are exceptions to this rule, but 99% of the time, you'll make money if you invest in the founder. The jockey is always more important than the horse. And then your follow-up question is, I'm trying to bring in a solid CMO, CFO, and COO. I placed the jobs on Well-Found. And then you wrote, what's the best comp structure to offer if you want to keep salary low and offer more equity for the C-suite? So first of all, if you're an early stage company, don't waste your time with a CFO unless you have a lot of revenue. You can outsource that stuff initially. I outsource everything as well. In terms of compensation, what do you give them? So I always love to give, I don't like to pay much in base salary. I like it to be a meritocracy. You eat what you kill, meaning you make an unlimited amount of money if you perform, if you're in sales, for example. So what I would do with your team is this. I would give them all equity in the company, okay? And the great thing about giving people shares is it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. And so it depends on what stage you're in. If it's the A round, meaning earlier on, I'd probably give 2 or 3% to each of those people. Don't give too much though, yeah. Because you can always give them more options every couple of years. All right, moving on to BP, who wrote, which finance jobs has a good work-life balance, meaning 40 to 50 hours per week and pays well? Yeah, so I would say the best job you can get in finance, if you want a good lifestyle and you want to be able to take your clients with you and start your own company, is private wealth management. Private wealth management is like being a retail broker for extraordinarily wealthy people. And it's a great job because in the next 5 or 10 years, so sad to say, but the baby boomers will be moving on. And you'll see the biggest transfer of wealth in history. So private wealth management is the way to go. And if you work in PWM as well at a firm like Goldman or Morgan Stanley, whatever, you can always take your clients with you and go to a competing firm. You can't do that in any other business within finance. And the lifestyle can be good as well, as long as you're not doing too much gripping and grinning on the weekends, chasing golf carts, etc. Yeah, okay. And 75% of all jobs at investment banks are sales oriented. And I don't think the grip and grin is going to be replaced by AI anytime soon. People trust people, not computers. Okay. And then Che wrote, what percent of AI firms do you think are going to fail in the next 5 years? I'd say well over 50%. This reminds me of the early days of cryptos, where there's a lot of crappy cryptos created. All ships rise initially, but then there's a day of reckoning, and we only see a handful of survivors. Yeah. And aside from NVIDIA, there's not that many other great companies out there. OpenAI, I guess, as well. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, a genuine question. Can tariffs push a developing country into recession, assuming tariffs are on EV and imports like IT, tech, and anything? Yeah, it can. Trade wars can definitely start if Trump raises tariffs too much. Again, I don't think he will. And as I mentioned earlier, when Trump negotiates, he tends to be, when two people negotiate, you got this party, they meet here. When Trump negotiates, he's over here. So that instead of meeting here, they meet over here. I know it's a simplistic thing to say, but I don't think he's going to be as extreme as people expect when it comes to tariffs. Yeah. But it can hurt all major economies if it happens. I know a lot of people in Germany are terrified of this right now. And they have political turmoil there as well. It's sad. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Paras wrote, what 3 technical skills would I need to get into equity research or investment banking? Dude, I went 49 minutes without bad dad humor. So I would say in finance, I'm not going to say technical skill. The first one is networking. It's always the most important. If you want to learn certain skills, what you can do is you can always learn about finance and accounting from scratch by signing up for my MBA degree program. And one of the many templates I give you is this 100-step spreadsheet here that analyzes a company's qualitative metrics, quantitative metrics, and then financials as well. I help you build and understand finance, build the entire financial model here, come up with target prices, sensitivity analysis, and this will create a detailed report, which is much better than anything you'll see from equity research analysts at any of the investment banks. This is the only product out there that will do this for you. And then also there's a 1-page executive summary. This is dummy data here. Yeah. Again, to learn more, go to harounmba.com. All right, let me move on to the next question. Manas wrote, you showed oil drilling ETF at a time. It was trading at $13. Now it's $300, maybe more. How is it possible when chart shows it only rose by 25% in the last years? You wrote it was OWZ. Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was the OIH, which didn't go up that much. And the OIH is the Oil Services Index. And that's an ETF to be able to invest in drillers like Transocean, ticker RIG, and Schlumberger, ticker SLB, etc. Don't ever buy mutual funds. And if you ever want to invest in a theme and you're not sure how, instead of buying single stocks, you can buy an ETF. Let me show you really quickly what that means. We'll look at an example together on Yahoo Finance. Okay, let me go over here to, Yahoo Finance. All right, finance.yahoo.com. I'll type in the ticker for the ETF for the Oil Drillers Services Index, the OIH, made by Van Eck. Okay. So yeah, I don't think it's done as well as that at all. No. But here in the Oil Services Index, if you look at the holders here, you've got Schlumberger, as I mentioned before, Transocean's in here, Baker Hughes, etc. If you want to do research on which ETFs to buy, I recommend going to ETFDB, that's ETF database. And what you can do here is you can drill down by ETF type, geography, etc. So if you wanted to invest in Brazil, but you didn't want to have to, buy individual Brazilian stocks, what you can do is you can buy ticker EWZ. There's 241 ETFs for Brazil here, right? So here's EWZ here. And this way you get access to the entire Brazilian economy, meaning Petrobras and a bunch of other great companies. Yeah. And when you do that, make sure the fees are low, meaning well under 50 basis points per share. And what that means is 50 basis points means you'll pay 50 cents in fees per $100 per year that you have in that investment. Mutual funds are a scam. Don't touch them. All right. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, China is worried now, especially since last night. Okay, you're talking about the election. Okay, 2 nights ago from it. Yeah. What will happen to BYD, biggest EV company in the world? So you're going to see tariffs go up for products like that. Absolutely, without a doubt. Canada even did it. I think they have a 100% import tariff now that Trudeau put on recently for Chinese EV companies. Yeah. So I think that the Trump win is very bad, for BYD and a lot of Chinese companies as well. And Elon is sitting pretty for obvious reasons. Yeah. All right. A couple other television shows to learn about finance. You wrote Super Pumped and We Crash were really good too. Yeah, I love Super Pumped. We Crash I didn't like as much. Super Pumped, it's interesting. It's about Uber, and the founder of Uber and how he dealt with venture capital companies. Now, the venture capitalist he dealt with from Benchmark actually worked in my building when I worked in VC. And in real life, he's much taller than Kyle Chandler is. He was a former basketball player, too. And then Ram wrote, I love Moneyball and The Big Short movie. Definitely worth watching. Yeah. Michael Lewis is a great author. Yeah. And The Big Short actually is Liar's Poker Part 2, if you're a fan of Michael Lewis. All right, next up, Manas wrote, Germany is going into snap elections. I saw that. Yeah, the government might be dissolved. What is happening? What's wrong with the German economy anyway? Its growth is too low and maybe in a recession anyway. Yeah. So not to get too political, but Russia invading Ukraine has really hurt the German economy and the European markets as well. And Russia kind of indirectly controls certain aspects of the German economy because Gazprom and Lukoil, the gas and oil company from Russia, sell a lot to Germany. Yeah, it's sad. But I believe in the German economy longer term. All right. Next up, Senator. Oh, wow. Senator of the board, thank you so much for that donation, $25 donation. God bless you. That will go directly to the schools I'm building in Africa. I built Rwanda 2 years ago, or last year we finished it. This year I'm building Kenya, and then what's coming next is Ghana, and eventually Egypt. Yeah. Nigeria too, of course. And my goal is to build 1,000 of these schools in my lifetime. If I was a quota-carrying sales rep, I'd be fired so many times. But as James Cameron, the brilliant Canadian director said, if you set your goals really high and you fail above everyone else's expectations. So thank you for that donation. So center of the board wrote, I'm a new member of the Silver MBA program. Thank you. I'm trying to become a savvy investor and grow my non-for-profit kids chess club. God bless you. I'm hoping that the course can help me be successful in these endeavors. Yeah, absolutely. And since you're a Silver member, today at 10 a.m. when this call is over, go to the very first lecture of your Silver MBA curriculum and join me for the weekly 1-hour Zoom call. You have access every week for life, even after you're done the program, and I will walk through walls to help you, and God bless you. Now, when you start a charity, it's very similar to starting a for-profit company. And in the MBA program, if you go to the third semester, you'll be able to access this, the Venture Capital Bootcamp, where I help you build your entire business plan from scratch, including all of your slides to be able to raise capital. Yeah. And it works, again, for charities, just like it works for for-profit companies. I think I didn't share properly there. I'm such an idiot. All right. This is where people sign off. I had a senior moment. Don't take my courses because I'm old. The older I get, the better I was. But this here is the Venture Capital Bootcamp spreadsheet here. Okay. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, please? Please laugh at me, not with me. All right. And then Theodore donated €2. God bless you. You wrote, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Again, that will go directly to the schools we're building. Now, these charities are never in my name. They're in the name of the students that I teach. Yeah, but it will go there. I promise you. Thank you. Okay. All right. Moving on to Spada, who wrote, hi, Chris. New subscriber here for the first time. Welcome. I hope you join us again. So Spada wrote, you mentioned AI displacing Philippine service jobs. Yeah. What about AI displacing finance jobs here? How can finance graduate future-proof their careers? Yeah. I have a course on that might help you a lot. If you go to my website, and it's only available on my website here, and then my courses, you'll see I have a couple of AI courses. One is called ChatGPT for Investing in Stocks, where I help you use all AI products to be able to invest in stocks and do equity research as well. In terms of which roles will be replaced by AI in finance, anything repetitive, like updating a financial model. Maybe initial forecast for financial models, although a senior analyst will have to bless that later on. Anything repetitive will be replaced. Yeah. And I think if you're a research analyst, if you're an analyst at a hedge fund, you should be worried about your job longer term. But not if you're a portfolio manager. So the way it works at a hedge fund is you have lots of analysts that report to a portfolio manager. I think these analysts, some of them can be replaced, or they can do less with more using AI. All right, next up, Joshua wrote, I have a seller with a gold mine and proven gold findings of over 300,000 ounces. Wow, and 83 claims. Would you suggest a reverse merger with a public company in Canada with no lawsuits and then mine the public? Yeah, well, that's so hard for me to give that advice. If you're in my MBA degree program, we can do a Zoom call on that in more detail, or what you can do is you can always use that spreadsheet I showed earlier, the 100 steps, to analyze if this makes sense or not. Yeah. And regardless of what you do, you want lawyers to be involved. And of course, investment bankers representing both sides. Never the same investment bank representing both sides, though. Okay. All right. But create a financial model, forecast longer term, and see if that sort of deal will be accretive or not to earnings. And I can go into more detail on that if you want me to. Yeah, and when you combine companies, you don't need 2 CFOs, you save money there. You don't need 2 CMOs, you save money there. Try to see where you can cut costs significantly and see if it flows to the bottom line and if your earnings go up materially longer term. If not, the deal doesn't make sense. All right. Next up, Super Fox wrote, I'm an immigrant on an H-1B visa in the U.S. Yeah, I was in the same position you were in. As a Canadian, I had an H-1B here for like 7 or 8 years in the United States. It's painful, I know. I remember I worked at Goldman back in 98 to 2003. In early 2001, Goldman got a lawyer to try to help me get my green card and a bunch of people on my desk. All the people on my desk got it except for me because my last name is Arabic, right? So I was on that no-fly list. Oh my God, it was painful. But I made the best of it, man. I'd go to LaGuardia, the airports, and I'd always go right to the front of the line. I'd say, I'm on that list. And then they'd say, okay, who do you want to search you, a man or a woman? I would say woman, of course, although I'm happily married. MBA stands for married but available. Just kidding. I would never cheat. And then what would happen was they'd just do an extra search on me, and then I'd just sit in the lounge, first class lounge, and have a couple of beers, whatever. Yeah, but I've been there. I've been there. You wrote, I'm worried about the new administration. I hear you. I feel you. You wrote, although they say they're focused on illegal immigrants, they actually curbed and caused problems for H-1B. Yeah. In order to stay, you've got to get the company to really support you. And the company you're working at might help out with legal fees as well. But I still want you to get your own lawyer. Okay. And what I want you to do is this. I want you to go to LegalZoom.com and set up a call with an immigration lawyer there. Pay for it yourself. It's very cheap. You get half-hour calls for like, I don't know, 50 or $100 or something. It's cheap for lawyers. Yeah. Yeah. And apply to other firms as well, just in case. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry you're going through that. Yeah. But you got to get corporate sponsorship. And the way it works with visas to the United States, I remember when Goldman got me my visa here 8 million years ago, you have to prove to the U.S. government you can do a job nobody else can. So they called me an economist. And it's kind of bogus. It's not true. But you need to get a corporation behind you to help you. Yeah, and get your own lawyer as well. Yeah. And for anybody overseas that wants to move to the United States longer term, or any country longer term, here's how you do it. Let's say you're in India. I'm going to use India and the United States just as an example. Let's say you're in India and you want to move to the United States. Well, you can't do it overnight, so here's how you do it. What you do is you join a large U.S. company that has headquarters in the U.S., like Microsoft in India, for example, in Hyderabad or somewhere. You work there for 5 or 10 years, do extraordinarily well. And you get promoted a couple times. And eventually you'll get to a level where if you're going to get promoted, they're going to transfer you to the mothership, meaning Redmond, Washington, left coast of the United States. And they'll get you the visa. Yeah. That's how it's worked with plenty of people at Microsoft and other top companies around the world. But you got to be long-term focused doing that. Yeah. Yeah. And then Pepsi Ninja wrote, wanking. Haha, wanking. Yeah, investment wanking. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, but I'd start interviewing a lot of companies. And regardless of what companies you guys all work at, if you ever get a call from a headhunter, take that meeting. Okay? Do it always on your personal cell. If your company gives you one of these things, buy one that looks the same if you have the budget for it, and use this yourself. For all those recruiting meetings, never use Wi-Fi on a corporate network because it can find reasons to let you go. But take all those meetings. And if you don't take those meetings with headhunters, this is out there, but you're hurting your family longer term. I want you to get paid what you're worth. Yeah. So always have a plan B. Because what happens is when the economy rolls over, and it will, business is cyclical. Quite often companies cut not just into fat, but into muscle. Companies overhire and overfire. Always have that plan B. Always. And your plan C should always be starting your own company longer term. Earmuffs time, please. I'm about to cuss. I rarely do this, but here I go. I want you to start your own companies. Because there's nothing worse than spending the rest of your life being someone else's bitch. And I don't want you guys to wake up one day and get out of bed and have problems getting out of bed because you hate the fact you're going to work for this schmuck that's paying you this much money to make their dreams become a reality. I want you all the right business plans on the side. And if I can humbly help you launch your company, that's what I'm here for. Okay. Oh, Andre, thank you. God bless you, Andre, from donated $3. Appreciate that. Thank you. Again, that will go right to charity. Thanks. My wife's name is Charity. No, it's Christine. I'm just kidding. God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate everything. Thank you. And I love you. Okay. And then JK wrote, ideal. What is an ideal a real estate investment? Income depreciation. What does the other stuff stand for? Yeah, equity, appreciation, and leverage. And I'll show you just very quickly here. Okay. So if I go over here to my real estate dashboard, yeah. So income okay? Because you're going to get money from the real estate rental that you own. You're going to start a company that owns that brand, so you can write off interest depreciation. Okay, you can't write off depreciation if it's a personal investment, meaning your house. E is for equity, meaning you get ownership in the house, so that when you own one house, you can use that as leverage to buy another house. And if this house is making you a lot of money and this one is losing you money, you'll pay less in taxes. And wealthy people, the way they become uber wealthy or insanely rich is by paying less in taxes legally. And the 400 richest families in America pay less or pay about 20% in tax. Yeah. A is for appreciation, meaning the house will go up, house, longer term. L is for leverage. Yeah. So, and I explain it through tons of exercises in this course, which again comes out next week for my MBA degree program students. Okay. All right. So Tons, Mark, how are you? Mark always types all in cap. He's from the swing state of Michigan. Great to see you. He's a platinum student of mine, graduated a couple of years ago. He types all in caps, and I always told him to do that because you remind me of my grandfather. Grandpa, I know you weren't yelling at me when you emailed me. It was just all in caps. I get it. So Mark wrote, hey, brother Chris and Global MBA gang. Hey. Once you've been in the hedge fund networks with banks, will that keep you from being broke if you lose it all because of the knowledge gained? No. There's a lot of people I'm sure work in hedge funds that have lost everything. Yeah. You just got to make sure you have good risk management, meaning have at least 20 stocks in your portfolio that are 5% or less of your capital. Don't have more than 20% exposure to any one sector like technology, retail, etc. And then use stop losses, etc. Yeah. Okay. And then BP wrote, if you could start over, what would you have done differently? Not much. And for me, whenever you have a failure, put failure in quotes, when it comes to your career, don't look at it that way, man. Have a positive attitude and just understand longer term that this might be a blessing in disguise. Yeah. You won't understand that until you look back. But frustration's a beautiful thing in business because it forces you to get outside your comfort zone and start a company or, get a better job that's going to pay you more, etc. Now, for me, I worked in consulting at Accenture for 4 years. Then I went to business school at Columbia. 5 years Goldman Sachs, then hedge funds like Citadel and others, then venture capital, my own company, and then teaching. I've never been happier, though, than when I teach. And Tony Robbins, who I met, who was looking to invest in one of my portfolio companies, he convinced me to do this, to teach. Everybody, please take the Tony Robbins course, UPW, Unleash the Power Within. It'll change your life. Don't waste your money on my stuff. Buy his stuff first. And do the UPW thing in person. Yeah. But now I do what I'm most passionate about. I don't have a job. I have a passion, which is why I've been doing these calls. I'm in my 7th year of doing it. I'll do this forever. I don't have a job. I have a passion. I love doing what I'm doing. And so for everybody in this call, I want you to do what you love doing. Because if it feels like work, you won't do well. And I want you to all chase your dreams and not money. Money's important initially. I get it. Yes. But I want you to chase your dreams and not give a damn what anybody thinks of you and your career decisions. And if you do that, something amazing will happen. Your dreams will come true and the money will follow accidentally. It always does with all the great entrepreneurs. You just got to be willing to fail over and over again. And you only have to be right in business one time. And again, don't care what people think of you or your career decisions. If you look at the fiction literature market, people like J.K. Rowling, C.S. Lewis, Agatha Christie, and John Grisham, they all got rejected by dozens of publishers. Of course, they wanted to give up after the first 5 rejections, but they kept at it. Just be comfortable with failure. Even J.K. Rowling, she hated her life, man. She was an assistant and a single mother, poor thing, right? She had trouble paying the bills. 20 or 30 publishers said no. She kept at it. And since the second my 3 sons were born, I've said the following 2 sentences that they've completed. Number 1, you never, and they say, give up. And the other one is, you always finish what you start. So never give up, man. Be a pit bull and a pork chop and just understand that you only have to be right in business one time. Ouch. Yeah. Yeah, and Vinny wrote Dumb Money is a great movie as well. Yeah, I love that one. That was about GameStop. Yeah. The amazing thing about GameStop, and I wrote about it in my most recent book that McGraw-Hill published. That was me showing off. Sorry. The amazing thing about GameStop is that GameStop stock went up 29.4 times in the month of January 2021, which forced a bunch of hedge funds, including Melvin Capital, which is big, to go belly up. And I heard also, according to people familiar with the matter, that Michael Jordan lost $500 million on that trade as well. But it's a great movie. I love it. Yeah. And the main actor was from that movie, There Will Be Blood, as well. I Drink Your Milkshake. That was a great movie. All right, Ignatius, great to see you. First time I've seen you on the call. Hope you join us again. Is FMVA useful to get into quant trading and hedge funds? I'm currently a student in my 5th semester majoring in fintech from Indonesia, and I wanted to go into hedge funds and quant trading. Yeah. Now you're going to see how ignorant I am. I'm going to look up what FMVA means. Okay. FMVA. It's in the game. Finance certification. Oh, the Corporate Finance Institute. Yeah. I don't know if you really need it, but if you want to see if you really need it, what I would do is go on LinkedIn and find people that are living the life that you want to live and have the job you want to have and see if they have that designation. I would say it's less likely to have it. But I think you can take plenty of cheaper online courses and then just learn how to network. And I've had students in my MBA degree program that have gotten jobs in venture capital, private equity, investment banking at Goldman Sachs. I had one student 2 years ago, halfway through my platinum program, got a job as an associate at Goldman Sachs in investment banking, making a killing in the same start class as Harvard MBA students. Yeah. It's all about networking. Yeah. All right. It's kind of like we all have that friend, right? We all have that buddy of ours, a guy that is dating a girl like way out of his league. And you're like, WTF, which stands for Why the Face, if my mother's watching. And the reason that dude is dating somebody that amazing is because they're comfortable with failure. And they keep asking people out on dates over and over and over again. You got to be the same way, man. Think about it this way. Tony Robbins taught me this. Think about pain versus pleasure. Okay. The pain of her saying no to you is this. The pleasure of her saying yes to you is this for life, beautiful marriage, etc. It's the same thing with networking for jobs as well. You only have to be right in business one time. Okay, Ram wrote, geopolitical adds more volatility in the market than anything else. I think so. Yeah, I think so because what happens is we often get fooled by randomness, and that's why day trading doesn't work. Swing trading over a couple of months might work, yeah, but day trading does not. Because stocks go up and down on a daily basis for random reasons outside of our control. To your point, geopolitical news. You know, what is Trump going to say, or some other politician globally that could drive markets. You can't make money on a daily basis. You got to be very long-term focused. And as Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Yeah, don't get seduced into day trading. It's like getting seduced into going into a casino. Yeah. And I know that's controversial, and some people have been upset with me saying that. But I say it with love in my heart. I want you to be long-term focused. And I want you all to pick a stock that you've loved for a long time and look at the chart of it, okay? And this goes for most stocks in the S&P 500. Over time, it's like this. But when it was like this, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to freak out and sell it. And Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff and it goes on sale. Doesn't make sense, right? But had you hung on, you'd be doing well. So the bottom line is this. I don't want you to focus on the path. I want you to focus on the destination. Just buy and hold. Think long term. You'll pay less in taxes that way as well. You'll make more money. You'll sleep better at night. And this is why a lot of people, their best investment ever is their house. And I say that because selling your house is really hard to do, right? I mean, there's massive fees, etc. I want you to be a stockholder. I want you to, when you buy a stock like Warren Buffett does, like when Warren Buffett bought Coca-Cola, for example, around 1990, he told himself this: I'm buying this stock, and after I buy it, I'm assuming the market's going to be closed for 10 years. You got to be long-term focused. In fact, if you bought Coca-Cola day one on the IPO back in the 1930s or whatever, you'd be down 50% 1 year later. But if you held on longer term, of course you'd made a fortune. Be long-term focused. Okay. Next, Anthony, how are you? Anthony is one of my good friends, one of my students. Great guy. He went to Berkeley undergrad. He works in the finance industry. He lives now in Seattle. And congratulations on the birth of your daughter again. So my buddy Anthony wrote, "Good morning, Chris. I passed along your course program to a curious international student at UCLA I spoke with yesterday morning. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I miss you. Set up a call with me, please." And then you wrote, firms could already have automated much of the research analysis when it comes to AI with finance. Yeah. But I think they will use larger teams as a way to sift through that talent. It's a filter. Firms will have to decide. Yeah, it's definitely going to be disruptive in the long run. Thank you. Great to see you, man. All right. Next up, Nkit wrote, do you believe that AI will take over most of the jobs? If yes, what work will be left for humans? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be as extreme as expected. And look, we always adapt. Like back in the 1980s, when Japanese automation was taking over with robots, companies like Fanuc, et cetera, in a lot of factories, people were worried that, oh my God, robots are going to take our jobs. We adapted. We moved to the services industry. Hundreds of years ago, 96% of the population worked in agriculture. Eventually, there's machines. We adapted. In late 1998, Google's beta was released. A lot of people are like, oh my God, we have to do research anymore. Google's going to do it for us. We adapted. In late 2001, Wikipedia was introduced. Professors were like, oh my gosh, students aren't going to do research anymore. What's the point of schools? We adapted. And we will adapt here as well. Now, Bill Gates is a little bit far-fetched with his predictions when it comes to AI, although I love his opinions. He said that AI might help us eventually only work 4-day weeks instead of 5-day weeks, because we'll be more productive. We will be much more productive in the long run because of this, I think. Will it take away some jobs? Absolutely. Now, the World Economic Forum said that next year, AI will take away 75 million jobs. But the World Economic Forum also said that next year, AI will add 90 million new jobs. We always adapt. Try to disrupt yourself first before the marketplace does. Think long term. Like Reed Hastings, the brilliant co-founder and former CEO of Netflix. With Netflix, it was a DVD rental service. You get DVDs in the mail. He thought longer term, he disrupted his own business model. And it worked. Disrupt yourself before the marketplace does. I leverage AI a lot right now. I'm looking to teach a lot of my courses in different languages using AI. That product will be coming out soon. Disrupt yourself before the marketplace does. And before you invest in a company, you got to ask yourself this. In 5 years, will this company be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? And that will help you from getting seduced into buying stocks because they're value traps. They're cheap for a reason. Yeah. Okay. But I think the easiest thing to think about when it comes to AI cutting expenses right now is with customer support. And I'm using it already. Again, I pay $20 a month for it. If you want, I can take you behind the scenes and show you exactly how I use AI for customer service. Yeah. Okay, next question. A small capper wrote, hey Chris, how will China's economy look in 6 months? Yeah, I don't know. But what I do know is that the marketplace thinks it might be worse. Like copper went down the most it's gone down in 5 months the other day when Trump won the election. And the reason is because a lot of people are expecting tariffs to go up materially. And if that happens, then Chinese exports will decline materially to the United States. As I said earlier, I don't think Trump is going to be as extreme with his tariffs as he said initially. Yes, there will be tariffs, but things will never be as bad as you think. China has another big problem, which is the real estate market. And some people, I don't know if I believe this, but some people say that there's 100% more residential real estate than there are people, meaning there's tons of buildings that are empty. Entire cities in China where there's over a building are empty. Yeah. So they've really overdone it. But not to get too political, but I'm going to say it anyway. So if you go back to Tiananmen Square, right, 1989, the uprising, we were lucky that CNN happened to have a camera crew there. Well, now everybody has a camera crew in their pocket. And I say this because if there's social unrest because of economic growth slows quickly, it could get a bit ugly. And so China has no choice but to grow. And I think the biggest risk for China right now is if the Trump administration were to throw up tariffs that are too high. China has to grow. And I think the best solution is that we as a society, we all embrace globalization. So we all have to get along. So the whole global economy has to grow. Yeah. All right. All right, next up, Joshua wrote, I had the Dan Pena QLA model in mind to recruit retired Barrick executive, Barrick Gold, ticker ABX, great Canadian gold company, and use their experience to bring the project to reality. The founder of the gold mine discovered the gold strike in Nevada. Yeah, well, having that person on your investor slides as one of your board advisors would definitely help a lot. Yeah. Okay. And I actually have a platinum student of mine that graduated 2 years ago that is a very senior executive at one of the largest Canadian gold mines. He recently left. Send me an email and I'll introduce you to him. He'll be able to help you out. So email support@harounventures.com. Yeah. All right. And then Emporium wrote, I hear you. My objective is to, in a few years, start a family office to help friends and family, that or a hedge fund with only friends and family money. Yeah, regardless of what business you all start, you always want to use other people's money. It's the only way to get incredibly wealthy. You know, that's what Bill Gates did, other people's money with Microsoft. Same thing with Jeff Bezos, same thing with Elon Musk. You know, same thing with any Wall Street tycoon that makes a fortune. The trick is to always use other people's money, set up your own company, your own business plan. You got to write the whole thing first because failing to plan is plan to fail. And if you set up a business the right way, you can pay a lot less in taxes. And that's the trick to get ahead, is to paying less in taxes using OPM. Legally, though, the right way. Always get an accountant. I don't want anybody in this call to do your own taxes. Because doing your own taxes is like doing surgery on yourself. I know that's a harsh thing to say, but it's true. The tax code changes all the time. So how do you get a good accountant? You ask your wealthy friends, coworkers, whatever, aunt, uncle, who they use, and they'll introduce you. I promise you it's the best investment you'll make. And if you start a company, I want that same accountant to do your business and personal taxes as well. Yeah. Okay. Manas wrote, failure is embraced in the United States in the Bay Area. Yep, that's right. But it's too tough in Bangalore in India. Why is that so? And how does Silicon Valley model? Can it be duplicated in any other country? Yeah, no. It'll take time, right? Like I've had senior government officials call me from United Kingdom, other places in the world, asking how can we build Silicon Valley here? It's really hard to do because it can take 50 years. So the reason Silicon Valley exists, and if you want, search my name online. I've written plenty of articles about this in Wired Magazine, VentureBeat, tons of places. But the reason that Silicon Valley exists, it all goes back to this here. It's a fascinating story, actually. These 8 people changed the world. So what happened was this. In 1960, the American public was depressed. They're very sad because, Russia beat the United States into space with Sputnik. And as a result, the Kennedy administration, Kennedy was a great president, created NASA. And NASA's goal was to, get the first person on the moon, before the Soviets do, meaning in the decade of the 60s. Unbelievable, really. Now, in order to do that, they had to fit 100,000 transistors on a fuselage, which is the top part of a rocket. And there was no technology for that yet. And so venture capitalists invested in the Bay Area in a bunch of tech companies. And one of those tech companies was Fairchild Semiconductor. And these 8 guys here, that's right here, this is the former CEO of Intel. Here you've got the former right here, Bob Noyce from Intel as well. You got Eugene Kleiner, I think, over there as well. Now, these dudes, they all worked at Shockley, which is a semiconductor company. And Shockley was a jerk. And so they all left, these 8 people, and they started Fairchild Semiconductor. And they were able to create a product whereby you can make transistors small and fit 100,000 transistors into the fuselage of a rocket. And that was amazing. And then Fairchild got too big and bureaucratic here in the Bay Area. And so Fair Children companies were founded, meaning spinoffs. For example, Intel, AMD, eventually NVIDIA, and other semiconductor companies. And then around that, here in the Bay Area, grew the hardware industry, HP, etc. Then software, Oracle. Okay, and a lot of it was government funded. So Oracle, a big database software company, that was actually their first client was the U.S. the CIA Project Oracle, which is the CIA's first big database. And so this was all government funded, right? So this is basically the U.S. government funding this. The semiconductor exists because of this. And then after that, the internet industry was created, of course. And in the 60s, United States government ARPANET division, they created the internet. They created it because, from a military perspective, they were worried that if God forbid, a certain instrument hit the United States, what would happen is East Coast could not talk to the West Coast. So they created the internet, which is a web where East Coast can talk to West Coast. But through all of that, and of course they got the first person on the moon in 1969, which was great. But something else happened at the same time, which is you cannot replicate, it's hard, which is the hippie movement in the United States. Free love and all that stuff. And the reason the hippie movement started here at Berkeley, Haight-Ashbury, in the city, as well as Stanford, is because the students that went to university then, and my son Andrew's 3rd year at Berkeley now, the students that were in university then were seeing their brothers and sisters, mainly brothers, getting recruited to go to Vietnam, and all they knew in their life was war. Their parents were in World War II, their grandparents were in World War I, and their brothers were getting killed in Vietnam. And so what they did was they all revolted, and nobody talks about this, but I think it was in '68 at Stanford University. The students took over the entire university, and they did it because at that point in time, there was something called Stanford Research Institute. And the Stanford Research Institute was a division of Stanford for highly classified military weapons research. And so Stanford Research Institute was rebranded SRI, so you wouldn't remember that brand name, and pushed offsite. And Stanford said, we're sorry, and kind of let students, take over stuff and share ideas and let people do their own things and experiment. Same thing happened at Berkeley. So all that stuff I explained to you is so hard to replicate overseas. Now, here in the Bay Area where I live, failure is cool. Hey man, that's cool. You failed, try again. Right? It's a given. You fail, you're going to try again. On the East Coast of the United States, and Canada, East Coast where I'm from, I'll criticize myself. It's a bit more shameful. Failure. But if you're successful, after you fail, people are like, oh, okay, cool. That's good. You made it. There are some countries, which I won't name, where failure is so shameful, and it's not India, where failure is so shameful that if you fail and you're successful later on in life, people only remember the failure. But it doesn't matter where you live. You always got to tell yourself, I don't give a damn what people think of me. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail fast. I'm going to keep trying. Over and over and over again, rinse, lather, repeat until I'm successful. Okay. Okay, and then Masa wrote, Chris, what is your plan when we celebrate 10,000 YouTube subscribers? Yeah. I'll probably bring a bunch of balloons or something to this webcast and celebrate with all of you, because you all did this, and I appreciate it. Thanks. I did it. We did it organically without paying anybody. Yeah. It'll be fun. Yeah. And I'm going to order another one of those YouTube. They give you a YouTube trophy, a little silver play button thing. I'm going to order another one and give it to my son for his room, because he worked a lot on this too. Dylan, my youngest one. And for those of you that have been on this call every week for many, many years, you remember in the early days he used to come in. Yeah. Now he's in high school. Damn, they grow fast. All right, next up, Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. See you in an hour in the Silver MBA class. A surprise for you around there. Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you. And you wrote, welcome to the house of Haroun Habibi. Thank you. And God bless your family more. Thank you. All right. Moving on to Peter C., who asked the first question today. Peter wrote, hey, Chris, have you seen the latest video of the new slim electric Atlas robot from Boston Dynamics that stacks trays? Seems like it's not too far away from taking on warehouse jobs. Would you go long? Yeah, Boston Dynamics, I remember it was, they made those dogs that race look kind of creepy, and then Google bought it, and then they sold it. Yeah. Let me take a look at that. Let's go there together and check it out. See what this crazy robot's all about. The future is now, folks. Okay, so Boston Dynamics, and it's called, what's it called again? Atlas robot. It'll find it. Okay, here it is here. Okay. They're getting rid of Atlas. Looks like they probably have a new slim one. Yeah. Yeah. If you guys want to learn a lot about the future of robotics and avatars, I want you to play this game here, Detroit Become Human, which might be one of the best video games ever made. Okay, so in this game, you're an avatar, and then everybody, you're solving murders and all that stuff. And in between levels, there are cutscenes, right? Where it's loading the new next level, and the thousands of people that are playing online have to answer a question at the same time. And it's anonymous, but one of the questions was, and she's in it too, it's Derek Jeter's old girlfriend. That's Lila Garrity from Friday Night Lights. But one of the questions when I was playing was, would you ever date an android in the future? And 70% of the people asked said yes. So it's going to have a material impact on relationships longer term. This guy's in the game as well, and he is, of course, in the Penguin on Showtime Max, or whatever it's called, which is the best show on TV right now, in my humble opinion. All right, next up, Ram wrote, my company uses AI agents, large language models, NLPs a lot when it comes to sentiment analysis, summarization, etc. Very cool. Yeah, you can definitely use machine learning for that, and I teach that actually in my I have an AI course you can get on my website as well. All right. And then Rose wrote, hey, Chris, there's a lot of fear out there with the election and such. Yeah. I want to know if you think the economy and the working class will be okay. Will we be okay, or should we prepare for the worst? Yeah, I hear you, Rose. And if you're the Rose, I know, I think you're a student of mine from 2019 based in Virginia. Yeah. I wouldn't be too worried. Things are never as bad as we think. Yeah. I wouldn't be too worried. People are worried. People that are Democrats are worried because, Trump, won the popular vote, the election, as well as the House, or the Senate, and most likely the House, which we'll find out in the next couple of days. But there's enough checks and balances in place in this country to keep people in check, right? And if he does anything that really spooks the market, the stock market will crash. And I don't think it'll happen when he's in office, right? I think he'll react. Because that is going to be a real-time indication of what the American public really feels. I don't think things are going to be as bad as you think. Yeah, I wouldn't worry. And individual states have a lot more power than we think as well, versus the federal government. Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20, but Biden really should have stepped down a long time ago. Right, so. And the same thing in the Obama administration. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she should have stepped down as well during the Obama administration. I can go into more detail now if you want me to, but I don't want to get too political here. All right. Next up, Rohit wrote, advice or a tip for somebody who is starting his first job in a different city and knows nobody in the new city. First time living away from family too. That was like me when I went to New York. Yeah. Yeah, first thing I'll say, you're going to hate me for this, but I care. Initially, at the company, I want you to be first in, last out every day. FILO. Is that a term? I don't know. but that will kind of show everybody that you're committed. Secondly, what I would do is when you're in meetings, don't talk that much initially in the first 2 weeks. Why? Because I want you to observe how the system works. Every corporate culture is a little bit different. There's different decision makers, different ways of getting things done. What I also want you to do is I want you to set up coffee meetings with a lot of people at your level or below in the first couple of weeks. It's kind of like the first 2 weeks of university or school. The friends you make in the first 2 weeks are your friends for life. And you're the new kid in town, so people will gladly take coffee meetings with you. Yeah. In terms of networking and socializing, there's plenty of online date websites for dating and stuff. You can always go to meetup.com and join local groups, etc. For me, when I moved to New York, I joined my Catholic church. I remember that, and I made a lot of friends through work. And I speak at my church almost every week now, and I've been doing so since forever. All right. Next up, Ryan wrote, I've been in Tony Robbins' UPW, Unleash the Power Within. It's a 4-day event. You guys all have to go to in person. And he wrote, it's great. We all need to invest time and money in self-improvement constantly. And Audible has taught me more than I've ever learned from my first 12 years of schooling. Yes. Everybody should subscribe to Audible. If you subscribe, you'll listen to books. Kind of like if you get a gym membership, you'll go to the gym. Here's what I'm listening to right now by Dan Martell. Alexa, read my book.
Resuming Elon Musk from Audible.
Oh, Alexa, stop. Yeah, that's the Elon Musk book. But I'm listening to Get Your Time Back with Dan Martell. And I just joined his program as well. All right. But listen to the Elon Musk book too. It's great. Okay. And when you're getting ready in the morning, this is exactly what I do. So when I was showering this morning, this is exactly what I do. Alexa, Wall Street Journal news.
From the Wall Street Journal.
Alexa, stop. And then after that's done, what I do is this. Alexa, what is the finance news today?
Here is what I found.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, finance news today.
From Bloomberg.
News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now.
Alexa, stop. So I listen to that every day. And it's fun too. And, I can multitask. I can get ready while I'm listening to that stuff. Okay. All right. Next up, Super Fox Fly wrote, I was let go from a job. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I found another job. Great. How do I overcome the hurt to my ego and the unfairness of the job loss? You're in good company. People that have changed the world have lost their jobs. A lot of them have been fired, right? So Madonna was fired when she worked at Dunkin' Donuts. Not the best example. Also, Michael Bloomberg, who's a billionaire and was the mayor of New York. Michael Bloomberg was fired by Merrill Lynch, Farrell Stinch. He started his own company and got revenge. Tons of people have been fired. Just do a search online for successful people who have been fired. Robert Redford, the great actor and the guy that founded Sundance, he was fired by an oil company. Yeah. Just remember, unjustified criticism is a disguised compliment. Yeah. All right. Next up, Jibril Master wrote, is drug culture on Wall Street still as bad as it used to be in the 90s? Absolutely not. Not even close. Not even close. Yeah. So there's drug tests, right? So when I worked at Goldman, and when I worked at Citadel and other places, there's drug tests. Yeah. So you can't. Yeah. There's drug tests. Yeah. Not nearly as bad as it used to be. Yeah. They drug test you when you first start. I don't know if they continue to drug test you anymore. I don't know. Legally, I don't know if you can drug test anyone for marijuana anymore because it's legal in a lot of places. I don't think marijuana should be legal. I don't think it should be legal, except for medicinal purposes. And the reason I say that is because some people might do marijuana, which might lead to, well, maybe I'll try other drugs. Yeah. That's my humble opinion. And I think if I were president or if I were a senator, I would probably create a new bill that can try you for manslaughter if you give a fentanyl or any pill to a friend and they die. You should be charged with murder, manslaughter. Yeah. It's a big problem here in America and Canada too. Okay, next up, Ogunrind, great to see you. First time to see you on the call. You wrote, hey Chris, do you have any idea on how I can begin retail high frequency trading? Yeah. All right. I'm going to get down on my knees here, buddy. Please don't do it. Do not day trade. Okay? Please don't do it. I promise you, it will all end badly. If you want to do swing trading over a couple months or so, buying stocks that are oversold or overbought or vice versa, you can think about that. But what I really want you to do is I want you to focus on fundamentals first, valuation second, and technical research as a distant third. So this is one of the many templates I give my MBA students. There's 100 things to look at, right? If you fill out all these 730 questions here, a report is created for you. Look here, at the very end is technical analysis, just a little bit, that's it, right? I start with the management team always. Yeah, be really, really careful with that. If you want, what you can do is you can study AI, Python, data analysis, quant stuff to help you create models to help you outperform the market in the long run. It's very hard to do. Not many people figure it out. Only Renaissance and a few others. And I bet you there's one or two others we'll never hear about until they get too big that some, I don't know, Wall Street Journal reporter wants to get a Pulitzer, writes an article about it. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Chippy K wrote, you said not to start a product business unless you can sell it first. What about farming? Is that a bad business? I don't think it is. Of course, you can use automation and machinery to make it more effective. What you can also do is you can use the futures markets to protect you. And that's one of the reasons the future market exists, is because a lot of times, farmers in the United States many, many years ago, they would ship their products from Chicago to somewhere else. And by the time the agricultural product arrived, the price might have changed, which could hurt the farmers. You can lock in those prices. So you can look into the futures market to hedge yourself as well. Yeah. Okay. And then does your real estate course include waterfall method for income distribution? It does. I don't call it that though, but it does. Yeah. Okay. And again, the real estate course will be free for all my MBA students. For anybody that's already bought my MBA program or has or will, all you have to do is go to the last lecture of your MBA program to get one of the many electives. And I'll be adding this real estate elective, which includes a business plan write-up tool for you as well. I'll be adding that by the end of next week. Yeah. All right. And then Super Fox wrote, I'm a doctor, but I have a background in AI. How do I get involved and profit from AI, but I'm busy at work? Yeah, it depends what you're doing. Like, for example, my dad and my brother, they're radiologists, which means they're really good at fixing radios. Their business is going to get materially disrupted in the long run by AI. If you think about it, it doesn't make sense for a doctor to stare at a screen, to see a little bone fragment or search for other medical stuff when computers can do this better. So if you're a radiologist, I would think about getting involved in other procedures as well before AI replaces that entire job. Yeah. But if you tell me the type of job you have as a doctor, I'm more than happy to help you. Yeah. Yeah. And I proudly serve on the board of a charity called Doctors Without Diplomas. That was a joke. I got that from Zach Galifianakis. I don't know if you guys watch Between Two Firms, but I love that. All right. And a Pharaoh Stoicism, I love that, wrote, hi, Chris, you're awesome. Oh, thank you. I keep on losing focus and motivation, which is a big setback in achieving work goals. How do I stay motivated? Yeah. So you have to set a daily schedule every single day. And you have to set the daily schedule the night before. And if you do this, you'll get a lot more done. And Tony Robbins once said that 90% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the third week of January because they don't set deadline dates. If you write out your daily schedule the night before, you can have micro deadline dates. and you can write out your goals with deadline days. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. Let me go to PowerPoint. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. All right, PowerPoint. Where are we at here? All right, I can't seem to get PowerPoint working here. So what I'm going to do instead of showing you that is I'm going to show you a tool you can download right now that will help you to be more successful every day. So go to harounmba.com/schedule. Okay, harounmba.com/schedule. And then what you can do is you can download a daily scheduling PowerPoint file. Okay, I don't ask you for email or nothing. Just download it here. Okay. All right. And once you download it, okay, what you can do is you can open up the scheduling system. Give me a second, guys. I got two monitors here. It's driving me cray-cray. Here we go. Go to downloads. Today's accomplishments. Here we go. Good. All right, great. All right. So you can download this. Okay. And I have a higher end version that works on OneNote, PDFs, etc. in my MBA program. This is kind of dated. But what you do is this. Okay. And this will work in Google Slides as well as LibreOffice. But you write out the night before your entire schedule. Okay. And you do it by hand. And, you put in important stuff like, doing weights at the gym and, having dinner with your family, going on a walk for come up with ideas and all that stuff. Okay. Then what you do is you create the schedule the night before. And this is dated for me. You can customize this yourself. Then at the end of the day, what you do is you score yourself. Okay. So you take off, and this is very subjective, 10% if you didn't go to a certain meeting, 20% if you didn't, go to the gym. For me, this is personal, 30% if I didn't pray, which never happens. All that stuff. And you score yourself and do this every single day and see if you can get close to 100%. So always write your schedule the night before. Don't do it on weekends. It'll drive you cray-cray. And what I also recommend is take one day off a week, man. A lot of my students, for religious reasons, take off Friday or Saturday or Sunday. For me, it's Sunday. And our forefathers and foremothers have known for thousands of years that you can burn out. And that's why, the 10 Commandments, which is the basis for a bunch of religion, one of the rules is to, honor that one day off. And that's what I do. You got to make time for yourself. I don't care how busy you are. Don't work for one day per week. It's going to be the best investment you can ever make in yourself. I promise you. You will burn out and you won't be productive. I'm 10 times more productive when I take time off. It's an investment in you. Yeah. And if you find that you don't have motivation, a lot of it might be because of what you're consuming and how you're treating your body. And what I mean by that is there's no excuse not to exercise every day. Prioritize it. And so, I go to the gym in my garage and another gym as well every single day, 13 days in a row now for weights. But every day what I do is I also get in about 30,000 steps, okay? So I have one of these desks that stands up here, and I get my 20 or 30,000 steps per day here while I'm working. So when I'm not in this weekly webcast, you guys, I'm always walking at about 5 miles per hour, okay? Or 5 kilometers per hour, I don't know. Like this, and I bring the desk up so I can type as well. And I wear my Apple Watch in my pocket so I can count steps. And this way, you're much more productive, you're happier as well. And this treadmill costs next to nothing. I can show it to you on Amazon if you care. If you want, just let me know there in the comments. But the reason I do this every day is because when I was younger, when I used to study the first hour of every day, I was very fresh and I absorbed a lot. Then at night when I tried to study, for 10 hours at night, it wasn't as productive as the first hour of the day. Then I realized with a biohack that if I walk all day long, I trick my brain into thinking I just woke up. So I can get 10 times more work done every single day this way. It works. Try it. And nutrition's obviously important as well. I teach about this in my MBA program in a lot of detail. So what I do is I consume an entire thing of vodka every day. Just kidding. Water, of course. And, this helps you. As well as I have a bulletproof coffee. I can go there if you want me to. And then every Sunday, I prepare 7 of these things, which has every antioxidant on the planet in it. There's kale in here, ginger root, etc. I juice everything. I also take tons of vitamins as well. So I biohack a lot, but I think that if you treat this right, this works gooder. Yeah. All right. All right, and I got to wrap up this call soon. If there's additional questions that I can't answer here live, what you can do is, for those in my Silver MBA program, just go to the first lecture of your curriculum for our weekly 1 hour Zoom call. Yeah. All right. And then Masa wrote, would you recommend accountancy, a good career for a middle-aged entrepreneur? Only if you enjoy it. Like, and the way you know you found your passion is if it doesn't feel like work. Like, this does not feel like work for me. That's why, this is the 7th year I've been doing this call. You have to thoroughly love what you're doing. And the way to know if what your passion is as follows. Let's say that starting tomorrow, you're not allowed to leave your house. You can't go to work. You can't go to school. You can't travel for 30 days. What will you do with your time? Whatever that is your career or next career. And I don't care what anybody says. And you got to go after it. And my humble role here is I feel like I'm a waiter, right? And I can't find my menu. It's here somewhere. All right, I have props everywhere. But when you go to a restaurant, with the absent-minded professor, when you go to a restaurant, you look at the entire menu, right? You don't order everything, but you look at the entire menu. Maybe you order 1 or 2 things. That's my job. I'm your humble waiter. I'm here to expose you to tons of different types of jobs so you can find your passion. And once you find your passion, you run after it. And that's why people that work in the technology industry, if they love what they do, like a lot of programmers we all know or developers we all know, they're really good at it. And here in Silicon Valley, we always say the difference between an average developer and a great developer is literally 10x in performance. You have to love doing what you're doing. It can't just be for the money. If you chase money, you lose your money and your dreams. If you chase your dreams and you fail over and over again and don't give a damn what people think of you, something beautiful happens, your dreams come true, and the money follows accidentally. It always does. Okay. All right, let me move on here. A couple more quick questions before I wrap this up. All right, next up, Peter wrote, we have the same lack of VC culture here in Australia that Manas mentioned in India. They expect startups to be value investments from the start with no growth phase. It's really hard to change a culture. Yeah. And it's what people don't understand about startups is that they're not going to be cash flow positive or profitable for many, many years. And we have to be long-term focused as well and understand that building a business that scales takes years. And so if you're trying to raise capital, you never talk to a value investor. And I know exactly what you mean. A lot of venture capitalists, in certain areas of the world, they're more conservative. What they'll do is they'll ask you, how much cash flow are you going to generate in year 2? It's not the way it works. As Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Yeah. All right. Next up, Asquin wrote, what do you think about the AI impact on personal finance? I think it's going to be wonderful. I think what it's going to do is it's going to analyze your portfolio and help you with basic things like portfolio diversification, risk analysis, etc. Something simplistic like make sure you don't have more than 5% of your capital in any one stock. Or it looks like you have too much exposure to Canada in your portfolio or US, or too much exposure to a certain currency, or too much exposure to a certain sector like retail, healthcare, transportation, industrials, etc. So I think it's going to be great. Yeah. It'll also analyze all of your financials and say, hey, your mortgage, you're paying 6.8%. Rates were just cut. You can refinance and pay 1 point and get a mortgage for 4.5%. Would you like me to set up a call for you to do this? That's what an AI engine might do from a robo-finance perspective. Or it might say, it looks like your outstanding balance on your Visa is higher than your MasterCard. Pay off the Visa first because the interest rate in your Visa is a little bit higher. Or it might say something like this. I've noticed that you missed this payment. You paid it late. Do you know that's going to impact your credit score? Yeah. Okay. And then DF wrote, what lessons could be learned from Silicon Valley to benefit the Silicon Slopes in Utah? I don't know, not much. I used to go to Snowbird, to Utah every year to meet with Jack Messman, who was Alexa, stop. Jack Messman, who's the CEO of Novell, as part of the Novell Brain Share conference. There's a vibrant tech center there as well. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. So I will have to wrap this up in a second. Again, if you're in my Silver MBA program, you can ask questions here. Or go to the first lecture of the Silver MBA program, and we do a 1-hour Zoom call to learn more about Silver. Go here. All my programs and products have 30-day 100% money back guarantees, so you can sign up today. Even join me. If I don't add a lot of value, get your money back, sort of thing. Yeah, if you want. Okay. All right, next up, Aswin wrote, what do you think about traditional college degrees versus online degrees? Yeah. So I feel like my kids are the last generation that feel that they might have to think about going to university. The whole system is rigged, and that's why I do what I do. It's not fair. You pay $100,000 to go to a 4-year undergraduate institution. You have, I don't know, 10 hours of class a week or something. Too much debt. You don't learn anything that's going to help you become successful in life. You learn how to socialize, which is true. But they don't teach you the most important concepts in business, which is why I wrote this book years ago. They don't teach you how to sell. They don't teach you how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. They don't teach you how to network. They don't teach you how to interview for a job. They don't teach you personal finance. What do they teach you? It's ridiculous. And so my views are a little bit extreme. But I think within a couple decades, only 50 or so universities will exist in the world. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of people will say, well, I'm not going to bother going to university unless I get into a great brand like a Harvard or Oxford or Cambridge. A lot of people are going to learn online. And I think that undergraduate programs will be truncated to 2 years in the future. Supplemented a lot with online learning as well. And it's really unfortunate because the only reason a lot of people get into great schools like Harvard, for example, is because mom and dad went there, legacy, or mom and dad have money. Like, is it really fair? Like, do these kids, these students really earn it? I'm sure some of them do. But why is it that billionaires' kids all go to these great schools? Did they earn it? I think it should be a law that donations cannot influence acceptance. In fact, I think that with applications, you shouldn't be allowed to put your name on it. It should just be a number initially. There's so much bias, and it's so unfair. Yeah. And that's why I'll never do accreditation either with my program. It's not fair that to get into a great MBA school, you have to have an undergraduate degree. That's not fair. What if you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth? And I can go on and on and on. But I say all this with love in my heart, of course. Okay. All right. Shivam wrote, what advice would you give to a senior in college to get their foot into the door in the quant/trading sector? Is it possible to learn enough within a year to get offers from good hedge funds? Yeah. Nothing they teach you in college is going to help you with that. You have to learn online, or you can take my finance courses or my MBA program. A lot of my students say they learn more in the first 30 days from my MBA program than they did in their entire Ivy League MBA program. And I have students from the top 10 schools in the world in my program. Plus, you get a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. Yeah, so you can always go to, I'll show you here. Let me go to Safari over here. You can always go to harounmba.com and just learn more about my courses, etc. But there's like 500 hours in this program, my Silver MBA. It's like Netflix. I teach you everything about finance, business, investing, everything from scratch. And every new elective I create is added for free, including this real estate elective that's coming out soon, next week actually. Yeah, so try it out. There's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. What you can also do is I have payment plans as well. But if you go to this link here, the Silver MBA, I have videos in all 6 sections here. You can watch those videos. You can look at the curriculum. It's endless, yada, yada. And then you can also sign up and do 12 payments if you want for $99 a month. And the great thing about this program here, or any of these programs, is there's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. And after you make all 12 payments, you can still join the weekly silver call, which starts in 1 minute, forever, for free. And you get all the electives I make for all my courses for free forever. Okay, I'm going to wrap up this. I'm going to wrap up this call right now. Alexa, thank you. I'm going to wrap up this call right now with.
My pleasure. Just doing my job.
Alexa, shut it. That's why you can never be too polite to Alexa. Okay, sorry. All right, I'm going to end this call with a very short video from Steve Jobs that will change your life that I license from the Silicon Valley Historical Association here in the Bay Area. I know there's a lot more questions. You can ask me during the silver call or ask me next week. God bless y'all. I'll see you next week. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.